Hey, this video is on 3 strategies you can use to deal with negative emotions. Now, this is based on the work of Matthieu Ricard in this book, which I love. It's titled Happiness, A Guide to Developing Life's Most Important Skill, which I think is an incredible title. Matthieu was training as a molecular biologist and scientist, and he ended up visiting a monastery in the Himalayas and visited a few times, basically never came back. Practiced there for many years, basically in meditation and studying the nature of the mind. And then he was kind of reintroduced to Western science and popular science when neuroscientists in the US started kind of working with him on collaborations around the neuroscience of meditation and how monks' brains are different, etc. So really interesting guy. But in this video, like I said, you're going to get very practical, pretty short to the point, 3 tools or approaches you can take to manage any sort of negative emotion. And we'll start off broadly speaking saying, let's just say any negative emotion is a emotional state that is either unpleasant to be in and or is fairly unhelpful. Maybe negative isn't the best language because there are actually healthy benefits to positive emotion, to negative emotion, which I've covered in other videos. But for the sake of this video, let's just say generally things like anger, sadness, jealousy, anxiety, stress, etc., kind of negative emotions. So what can we do? Well, the central idea here to start with is you can either dissolve the emotion, you can apply an antidote, or you can harness the emotion. So dissolving it, I'll explain each one of these in a little more detail, but dissolving it is essentially labeling it and viewing it and just allowing it to naturally dissipate. Applying an antidote is generating some emotion to sort of drown out or push out that emotion. And then harnessing it is not to be confused with unleashing it. I've been known to do this a time or two. It's using it in a directed and intelligent way to actually serve you. So let's jump into each of those in a little more detail. The first one I said is dissolving it. So this is the idea that oftentimes, if you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, spoiler alert, there's this big magical green scary wizard and they pull down the curtain and they see that it's just a conductor behind it who's like using a magnifying glass to make himself look big. And I think there's a hidden lesson there, which is that when it comes to emotion, right, it feels like this really big, powerful energy, but it's kind of like a cloud, right? A cloud in the sky looks like a tangible thing that you can touch or sit on. But if you're in a plane, you just fly right through it. It's just mist. And emotions are really the same way, right? They exert this intense push and pull and direct us, and they can be totally overwhelming. But if you just step back and view the emotion as the emotion, like, oh, there's anger, or, oh, I see I'm feeling some sadness, or, oh, there's a little bit of anxiety here. There's a sensation of anxiety. It helps create almost like a little bit of separation between you, the experiencer, the container, and the contents, the stuff inside the container. So all this is as a practice is basically saying hello to whatever difficult emotion arises. So say I'm like, it's an interesting timing because I have a speaking event coming up in about an hour, and I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit nervous or something, but I just look and I say, oh, there's some anxiety there. Oh, I see some excitement energy. Like all of a sudden it has a little less control over me because it's just like I'm just looking at it. I'm just holding it. I'm not being like kind of connected to it and identifying with it. So boom, you have a little bit of separation right there. And you'd be surprised how often this can kind of just let these emotions dissipate, right? You can imagine it's kind of like something's like you got a rock in your shoe and it's bothering you, and then you just, oh, there's a rock. And so you just take the rock out and you're fine. So with emotions, a lot of time, again, just stepping back, acknowledging, and just holding it up and labeling it, saying, oh, there is anxiety. Here is frustration. Here is anger. Just kind of weakens the grip and allows it to dissipate. So that's the first strategy you can do, is just essentially say hello to the emotion, hold it, and just don't even really try to push it away or pull it in. It's just observe it and let it kind of float away on its own. That was a weird gesture, but whatever. The next thing you do is apply an antidote. So this is the idea that 2 opposite mental states or images cannot occupy the mind in the same moment. Sure, you might have a love-hate relationship towards someone or something, But in one given moment in time, it's really hard to be like, oh, I just feel so good and love and happiness. And I'm like, I just want to hit you. Like, it's kind of hard. Now, again, you may bounce back and forth with someone, but in one moment, it's hard to do. And so, I mean, even try to just imagine, like, I don't know, at the same exact time, try to think about going on an amazing beach vacation and, I don't know, the Statue of Liberty riding a horse. Like, that was a weird example, but like you can't at the same time hold both the images in your head, right? You have to kind of switch back and forth. So this is the same idea. So whatever negative emotion you're experiencing, you can apply an antidote, which is just saying what is kind of the opposite emotion that would push that out. So maybe, and it's not always perfect opposites, but it's like, what's the opposite of anger? Maybe it's peacefulness. What is the opposite of anxiety? Maybe it's confidence. What is the opposite of worry? Maybe it's gratitude. So I'm going to either physically and or mentally apply an antidote. So let's use the gratitude example. Say I'm really worrying about something. I can apply a mental antidote. So, okay, I'm going to just focus on 3 or 5 things I'm grateful for. Well, I've got this cool setup here, that nice little Buddha statue. I've got this book that I love. I'm doing this fun event, but whatever. You're just simply directing your focus away from the negative stimuli to a more positive stimuli, and that's helping you generate a feeling of gratitude, which is going to push out that feeling of worry, because it's kind of hard to worry and be super thankful for stuff at the same time. You can also apply a physical antidote. It's like, what would it look like in my body if I was really relaxed and thankful, right? It'd probably be like, your palms would be up. That's a common expression of gratitude, or maybe even this if you're spiritual. And I'm just like, yes. And your shoulders are relaxed and you're smiling. And like, how worried do I look? It's hard to talk like this when I'm just sitting here like this. Not very. And I can even start to feel a little bit different because by changing my physiology, I change my state of mind. So that is how you apply a mental and or physical antidote. It's best to do both. You're just saying, hey, I have this emotion that I don't really want to be experiencing right now. It's not serving me. So I'm going to actively generate a positive emotion to act as an antidote. All right, third strategy here is harnessing. As I said earlier, this doesn't mean you're just going to unleash it, but it really is investigating the emotion to see if it's beneficial or if it has kind of justification. So let's say you're really angry at someone about something. It's not just reacting and going after them, but it could be saying, well, is it fair to be angry about this? And you might say no, but you might also say, yeah, this person has consistently mistreated me and they're not behaving in the way I expect them to in this relationship. So I'm going to harness this energy, because all emotions are as a form of psychological and physical energy. Not even I don't mean that in like a guru, weird spiritual way, but just literally that's what it is. How can I channel this energy into something productive? So maybe it's saying, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm going to have a conversation with them where I set boundaries and outline how I expect them to treat me. Right, fair? Or let's say you're just really pissed off and frustrated by something that you read in the news, right? Instead of just going back and feeling outraged about it, you can say, how can I harness this? Well, I think that it is wrong that people are being treated this way, so I'm going to volunteer 5 hours a week to this nonprofit that helps that, whatever. The idea here is that you are using this negative emotion as positive fuel. You're using it in a way that is productive, that actually serves you, because a lot of time this energy can be valuable. I mean, even if you're just so sick and frustrated and depressed and tired of your life right now, which is a little extreme, but if you're in a position like that sometimes, it's like, okay, so what? So what? Not freak out and unleash it, but harness it to say, you know what, I need to change X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to take action on it. So harnessing is underrated. It can be a powerful one. So there you have it. This has been the topic of this video. Like I said, is really wanting to help you and serve you in a way that's quite practical with anytime we have a negative emotion or an emotion that we just it's not really serving us. You now have 3 very practical strategies or tools you can implement to mitigate it. So you have, like I said, number 1 is dissolving it. Number 2 is applying antidotes, mental and physical. And number 3 is harnessing it. So I hope this video is helpful. As always, you can see tons of resources down below on applying the study of happiness for both work and life. Here's a video from my channel that YouTube suggests you'll like, and I'll see you in the next one. This has been your happiness nerd, Jackson Kirchis. Thanks for watching.